Hey, we're at Odd Obsessions in Chicago talking to Ray Duran, filmmaker, artist, actor. Um, what are you originally from Chicago?
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. I'm originally from Chicago.
Did you go to film school?
I did. It's actually kind of a little story getting to the film school, but after high school, I did study graphic design, and then about 2 years into college, I kind of started dabbling with film stuff, more just video, kind of as a hobby. And that kind of lasted for a while I was still doing the graphic design thing, and eventually just got to a point where I got tired of just doing kind of like, I don't know, like YouTube type video stuff with just friends, and I wanted to get serious and actually go to film school to get sort of the connections and, sort of up my game as far as storytelling and quality, that sort of thing.
Right. Because you make full length movies. You make features, right?
I've done one full length.
Full length. Right.
Yeah.
You're making another one though, or you're in the process of producing one.
Well, I'm writing a story that
Okay.
my idea is to kind of illustrate it as a graphic novel first, and kind of feel it out a little bit visually, and then see if I can generate some kind of a following. But basically, I am kind of writing it as a full-length script. The idea is to sometime turn it into an actual film.
Absolutely. For those that aren't in the know, Ray is also a very, very skilled and accomplished artist. I mean, you did the storyboards for this upcoming project, all yourself, right?
Yeah, actually, sometimes just out of necessity, I've just done all my storyboards. But I mean, I've always been an artist as far as, as soon as I picked up a crayon, I would just draw, and definitely being a kid of the 80s, of course, I watched a lot of Star Wars and a lot of the Transformers and cartoons of that sort. So I definitely was exposed to a lot of visuals and that sort of thing early on.
Yeah, we were just having a pretty interesting conversation about Star Wars earlier here at the store. So, about how many years have you been working seriously as a filmmaker, trying to put work out there for people to see? Because you're shopping stuff around at film festivals and doing the whole experience, right?
Yeah. Let's see. I guess I would include my final film that I did at Columbia College.
Which was?
It was called Consolation Prize. It was basically my sort of like a thesis film. And so that was 2010. So yeah, about 8 years now that I've really been, pursuing it either with my own productions or working on some of the bigger productions in town.
Right. So once you graduated from college, your next efforts, what was that one called?
Well, right after school, I didn't do another production for a while, actually, but I was like a production assistant, just doing kind of like crowd control, and it was Transformers 3 that was here at the time.
Oh yeah.
So that was definitely an experience to see that scale of a production coming from student films to like $1 billion production.
No, it was crazy. Downtown looked crazy during. I mean, you would see Optimus Prime or Bumblebee every once in a while, and they completely. It's amazing. I kind of want to talk about the two movies you kind of have on your. Well, you actually have three on your IMDb. You have the one you mentioned, your student film.
Oh right.
And then after that, I think it was Buckle Up Punk, the one that came after that one.
Right.
Right, which is sort of a genre exploitation kind of family, kind of like Cape Fear kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it's. Oh yeah, I guess I never kind of thought of that one, but yeah, I always kind of pictured it as kind of like an homage to Die Hard and Death Wish.
For sure. For people who hopefully will check this out, can you give us a little quick synopsis of what happens in it?
So Buckle Up Punk, a traffic safety instructor. So the teachers who teach when you get a ticket and you don't want it on your record. He witnesses a hit and run, and the punks who perpetrated it want to keep him from testifying. So it just kind of turns into this hostage situation, and he has to sort of break out of his kind of routine of his like moral code, that sort of thing, to sort of battle these punks. So it's definitely stylized, but it actually ended up being a little bit more on the serious side than we originally planned.
Yeah, we'll play the trailer if you don't mind.
I ran into them on the street yesterday.
What do you mean?
Your car is blocking the sidewalk.
Who asked you?
To add insult to injury, no witnesses have come forward in this awful tragedy.
When I'm done with this guy, there won't be any more accidents.
I didn't know what to expect really from the title, but I was really surprised the choreography and the action scenes just in the trailer alone. Just like I'm sure the movie has a lot more violence and cool, because it's very like grindhouse-y. That reminds me of like a grindhouse movie from the '60s, where like a bunch of bikers are hunting down this family that's on vacation kind of thing, you know, and the guy's like, the dad's just really so straight-laced, he can't deal with anything kind of thing, you know, right?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I always kind of had this idea in my head, especially I remember watching The Warriors as a kid, and I just kind of pictured this sort of, that era was, at least in the films, they made it seem like it was just like the streets of New York and other places were just like overrun with punks and motorcycle jackets and that sort of thing. So initially the story did start at, oh, you know what, actually, Buckle Up Punk started as sort of a dramedy kind of story. Actually, I did start writing it in 2010, and maybe about 3 years before we actually shot Buckle Up Punk. Somewhere in there I changed it where the story wasn't really working script-wise, and then I just kind of had this idea to do sort of a grindhouse style where I could do it here in Chicago without, you know, trying to get massive funding and, you know.
Right, because so you shot the whole movie here in Chicago with Chicago actors and your producers from Chicago. I was curious too, both movies, the one after that, Augmented. Right. They have the soundtracks. They're awesome. Like very like John Carpenter. Did you have those composed originally for the movie, or?
Yeah, they were original compositions.
Who did those?
So for Buckle Up Punk, it's a local musician named Joshua Wentz. He also has a couple bands. One's Brash Flare, and a couple other projects that he works with. But the lead actor, Andrew Weir, was good friends with Joshua, and he kind of recommended during post when we were looking for a composer, he recommended him, and it turned out to be that's actually one of my favorite processes of post, getting to work with the composers, especially once we get closer to finalizing the score, and you know, we get to play around with, you know, we'll try this little sound, or you know, I need just this little note to sort of sell the you know, like the drama behind whatever a specific scene is. And then for Augmented, it's another musician called Zetsumetsu, who's really big into the whole modular synth kind of thing right now. That score was before he kind of has this ridiculous modular setup now in his house. It's like taking over his basement. But
that's awesome. Yeah, maybe so. He's from Chicago too, huh?
Yeah, originally from Chicago. Him and his partner, they're in Wisconsin now. But
I'd love to check out more of his stuff. Like I said, it kind of reminded me of John Carpenter soundtracks. Yeah. Was he have anything to do with the soundtrack? Because for Augmented, I guess we should explain. Yeah, that's more of like a sci-fi, like Neuromancer kind of Johnny Mnemonic kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm always curious about when there are laser guns in a movie, like the sound soundtrack, choice, or did he do the, what I'm asking is, did he do the laser sounds in the movie?
No, actually, as a sound production sound designer, one of my classmates from Columbia, he actually did the sound mix and everything. So part of that, I did find some like stock sound effects myself, stuff that were like close to it, but then he really added the punch and to really sell it, without
Mixing
just
it,
being, trying to make it something original, being that it was sort of this fictional kind of laser.
Right. No, because that's what I kind of thought. Because like usually, with movies that have lasers and laser guns, I don't know if people know this, lasers don't make any noise. Right, in physics, like real lasers, they're silent. But the lasers in augmented, they kind of have this like jet or kind of cooling sound. I can imagine like a laser gun getting overheated and kind of making that noise.
Well, actually, now that we're talking about it, I remember it's actually the fictional kind of technology that me and my co-producer on that project kind of came up with. Was that it was sort of a actual projectile, so kind of building off of like a rail gun kind of idea, if you remember that.
No, I know what a rail gun is.
It's
the
Eraser, if you remember. That was kind of like one of those first things when like you were a teenager and it's like, oh, the rail gun, that's so cool, man.
It's the way of the future. I mean, that's all space battles will be fought with rail guns in the future.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So I guess we've been talking about augmented. Can you give us a little rundown? We can play the trailer maybe in a second.
For sure,
but check out the trailer.
Two hours late? You must be on Albert time. Go on, start talking.
Last call, 10 minutes.
Albert, where's my brother?
Mark took a job with an anarchist group. They staged a DNS attack 4 weeks ago.
The one that's been all over the news. Mark is behind it.
The attack was a distraction. The group broke into a tech firm. No one knows why.
Shit. Where are they?
South Side. You know what? It doesn't matter. They're dead.
Albert. My brother.
Not one of the bodies. No one knows where Mark is. No one's seen him. He's just up and vanished.
Thank you, Albert.
Albert, who is this guy?
Everyone good here? Bartender, why don't you pour my friends here around? Something special. We're having a private party.
No, thank you.
Nonsense. I insist.
Why don't you let Jane be?
Why don't you pour the drinks?
That's it. You're done.
I don't know who you think you are, but you have about 10 seconds before
That's right. Violence always gets a quick reaction from your kind.
Jane, are you all right?
What is that? What are you doing?
Dwayne, would you be so kind as to restrain Miss Randall?
Dwayne, knock this guy out! Albert! Do something!
Miss Randall. Jane. Can I call you Jane? I'm gonna ask you a few questions, and you are going to answer them. And if your answers are not to my liking, then I'll have to get creative with Albert and Dwayne. Jane, your brother has something very valuable to my associates and I. And we do know you're looking for him too. Tell me, would he surface if he knew you were in danger?
Oh, fuck you!
Watch. I could have him remove his intestines and he wouldn't make a sound. Total control down to the cellular level.
What the hell are you?
Perhaps I wasn't clear. If you were in danger, would Mark show himself?
Come on. Quit wasting time. Just do your brain hack thing. Find out.
In due time. You're useless to me damaged. But make no mistake, Jane, I will get my answer. I'll repeat.
Keep talking.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Jane, the name's Sam. Quickly, out the back.
No, I can't.
We need to be far away before it wakes up.
What about Albert and Dwayne?
Alive, technically. I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do.
Well, talk about it, because you kind of sounds like you George Lucased out a world. You kind of thought about it. You didn't just go in there kind of like Roger Corman it.
Augmented the stories by my co-producer Jason Zaskowski, and we've kind of started writing a couple things. Actually, we kind of did a very early version of Augmented a few years ago that never really saw the light of day because it wasn't quite what we wanted. But anyway, so with this film, we kind of, it's kind of loosely based on some of the Terminator comics of the 90s that were kind of like...
the Now comics, or like Dark Horse put out some too, I think, right?
The Dark Horse, where they were kind of like parallel storylines to like Terminator 1 and 2, something like that. But we still kept it original enough, but... I guess you could say more inspired kind of by those comic books.
Yeah, because it's kind of a movie about, like the title hints, like people kind of becoming cyborgs. It's about a girl who's hunting for her brother who got involved in like a nefarious kind of like...
yeah, so the lead character, Jane, she's looking for her brother Mark, who's sort of this subversive... kind of outside of the mainstream, with various schemes or plots and that sort of thing. But in the film, he's been gone longer than she's kind of accustomed to. So in the process of looking for him, she sort of runs into this, I guess for lack of a better term, cyborg, and kind of stumbles on this war against humanity that's kind of hidden to pretty much everyone, aside from a few people who've been unfortunate to cross paths with this cyborg.
That sounds great. And one of the things I thought was great about it too is like it's a sci-fi movie, but it happens like in 2019, so it happens like next year, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. In my brain when we were making it, it just kind of felt like I almost kind of pictured our reality like a year from the past election. I just kind of felt like we were going towards a sort of escape from LA kind of route where I'm just picturing our whole country being fenced in, and we're kind of it turns into a prison. But
I feel like people don't do that enough in science fiction. Like,
Yeah.
let's write science fiction stuff that's going to happen 9 months from now.
Yeah,
You know, because technology like triples or doubles every, like, I don't know what they say. Well, whatever.
yeah.
Okay, cool. The other thing I'd like to talk about, one of your other, and I'd like to play a video from it too, is you've done music videos as well. I mean, you've done some animation, and you know, I mean, you're kind of like full spectrum kind of artist. But could you tell me about like the process and maybe introduce the video that we're gonna play in a second?
Okay. So the video we're gonna see is called "Stillness" by an artist and friend of mine named Flutter, and so that was a really fun project that we didn't really plan a whole lot. Flutter, she kind of had her idea of where she kind of wanted to go with the video, kind of based on, you know, the minimal lyrics in her song. But yeah, that was really one of my I want to say like great collaborations, because it really was a collaboration, which is kind of rare to be able to work with her partner Zetsumetsu, who's also, you know, part of the production process. But so basically we just kind of shot on iPhone with, against the green screen, and we kind of had an idea of this kind of metamorphosis story. really not until after I shot, we kind of went with, I kind of built on Flutter's idea. In the video, she's wearing a costume that's actually made out of VHS tape. So Zetsumetsu managed to sort of do this like weave with all the VHS tape and make this like headdress and sort of dress that she was wearing. So anyway, that actually really turned more into sort of a art project in a way. And so there's actually elements of animation, but it's sort of taking video clips and chopping it up and sort of turning it into sort of a medium. So in there you'll see she kind of transforms into this sort of praying mantis-like creature that I really had a lot of fun with, because I didn't want to just show it throughout, and there's like little flashes kind of revealed throughout the video. Some of my favorite shots are they made this cocoon out of VHS tape, and so part of it was implying that she was inside this cocoon, so I really had fun just layering the same video clip over and over at different points to kind of have these traces, and she's dancing, so it looks like she has like 100 arms or something.
No, it was great. I mean, I would like to see more of your experimental stuff. Your narrative stuff's awesome too. But yeah, it was when you just let loose and kind of just you can do whatever you want kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that was nice because it was kind of a little departure from the really structured kind of stuff. So it was a nice kind of restart. But yeah, I definitely want to do more of that kind of thing, and it's a lot of fun. So might be a little something with Flutter or Zetsumetsu in the future, another video that I might help with again.
We'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. Can we talk about maybe some filmmakers that you've had a chance to peruse the store? If anybody, you should really check out Odd Obsessions here in Chicago. They've got a collection of all kinds of hard to find and really interesting, unique. And how many video stores are there in the world?
Yeah, this is kind of the first, and it's funny that after not being in a video store for so long, and I definitely have fond memories of going to the video store and playing like Street Fighter or Streets of Rage and that kind of arcade video where the store was a whole experience. Like, it wasn't just getting the movie, it was also getting to hang out while you're looking for spending, I don't know, you could easily spend a good hour.
Yeah, for sure. I used to hang out at the video store all the time, and yeah, there's a community, and here especially since there aren't very many video stores. I feel like a real community is built around this one here. And yeah, I actually used to work at a video store too. I worked at a Blockbuster for a while. It's nice. Yeah, I mean, are there any favorite directors or filmmakers that?
I mean, there's tons. I could go on forever and ever, but I guess in the spirit of being in this store, I mean, looking around, some of the earlier stuff was more, for me, that was kind of influential or that I gravitate to, is more based on like the lead character kind of thing. Like, I'm looking over there, I see Cobra that Stallone was in, and that's like one of my favorite Stallone movies, because I feel like it's still kind of, it was a big production, but I feel like it was kind of indie for that era, because I mean, I guess you had like comparison, like a sort of Lethal Weapon, I guess would be kind of a comparison, but that was a much bigger kind of release, I think.
Yeah, Cobra's just a strange movie. Like, his performance in it's so weird, and it's kind of like very kind of surreal in a weird way for like a cop movie. And in a good way.
Yeah.
I wish they would make a Cobra 2. I'd love to see a Cobra 2 if anybody's watching this.
Yeah, Stallone, if you're remaking he did pretty well with Creed, so.
Yeah, well, so I really want people to follow you. You have an Instagram with your work, your artwork, and maybe we'll show some stuff from your Instagram right now. But you also have a YouTube. How can people watch your movies? You have something on Amazon, right?
Yeah, so Buckle Up Punk is available to stream on Amazon. So if you have Prime, and it's free. So
it's free. You don't have to.
Go ahead and check it out and throw a rating on there. We always appreciate it. But otherwise, some more like augmented, you can actually find on Vimeo. Like I have my director's reel on there, and music video. So Vimeo is more of my preferred sharing, but like Buckle Up Punk, we actually have a YouTube channel, so you can watch the trailer, and there's a 3-minute clip on YouTube actually to kind of get a feel of what it's all about.
We'll put some links for sure, so people, or if you just Google your name, you'll probably get some stuff, right?
Yeah, either way, Vimeo, YouTube, it's both, / Ray Duran.
Ray Duran. D-U-R.
Yeah, D-U-R-A.
D-U-R-A. Okay, and so what's your favorite Duran Duran song?
I gotta say it's, what's that song from The Crying Game? I forget what it's called, but
man, I need to rewatch The Crying Game. I haven't seen that since '92, whenever it came out.
Yeah, so I forget the name of that song, but
the one from the Crying Game. Okay,
yeah.
We'll look into that, and we'll provide a link to that as well. What about what's your favorite Sugar Ray song?
Sugar Ray? Okay.
You don't have to answer. You don't have to answer that.
I can't even think of a name.
Cool. Well, definitely check out Ray's work. Come to the store. It's in Chicago. It's pretty easy to get to. Maybe at some point we can actually pick up a copy of some of your DVDs, so people can come and rent your DVDs here if they don't have access to the internet or
True. Yeah. Buckle Up Punk I do have Blu-ray and DVD.
We will procure those from you for money.
Okay. I can.
And people can do whatever they want. Pick them up
actually, I do have I meant to do more in the future, but I do have a single copy of Buckle Up Punk on VHS.
They love. There's a whole VHS section. It's one of the few places where you can rent. I think you can actually rent VHSs here still. So, Blu-ray too. There's a Blu-ray section. Daredevil Blu-ray. Cool. Well, I don't know if you want to say anything else. Say hi to anybody. I don't know. Did we forget to talk about something? I think we.
I guess we could kind of circle back to talking about some of the filmmakers and stuff that's here.
Yeah.
Being in here just kind of makes me think of some of Peter Jackson's earlier works that most people don't really know about.
For sure. Like, what's the really gross? Oh, Meet the Feebles, man.
Feebles. I was just gonna say, you read my mind. It's just like so out there, and
I still can't make it through that movie.
Oh, really?
It's like so gross. And I love Muppets. It's just such a gross movie.
Oh yeah.
Bad Taste. Well, not quite Meet the Feebles level, but still a pretty gross movie.
Yeah. I like that they're just that over the top gross where it's just comedic and it just he really has that knack of like doing that well, and it's interesting to see like his big productions like Lord of the Rings and still see he's got kind of those like wide angle extreme close-ups kind of thing, and you still remember those early days that are almost a total departure in a way.
Well, and he doesn't shy away from the gory parts of the book. I mean, he makes it a point to put those in the movies, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like Dead Alive. I mean, the pimple or like the zit or whatever getting into the soup.
Yeah.
So gross.
Yeah.
So Peter Jackson's great. And he's one of those filmmakers that kind of started off as like a super indie, like who knew who Peter Jackson was? Back
exactly.
Before, like, The Hobbit, I guess there was like with the Frighteners, right?
The Frighteners, yeah.
Which I didn't realize. Somebody mentioned the other day. I don't know if this is true. We can totally look this up later. That The Frighteners is rated R. I always thought it was PG-13, but he said he couldn't watch it because, it was rated R. I don't remember any. Why would anybody rate that movie rated R?
Yeah, I don't really remember. I don't think I've seen that whole movie all the way through. But I don't know. I guess that would be, especially that era, it's kind of hard to get an R rating.
I kind of think it's sort of a Mandela effect thing, although I have not looked it up yet, so it might be PG-13. I could be right about this the whole time.
Yeah, it could be PG-13, but like PG-13 back then is probably like an R now.
Right, yeah. I mean, they gave you like one F-bomb and like maybe some breasts, or I don't know, a butt or something.
Yeah.
But things are different now. The times are changing. I mean, do they even put out PG-13 movies anymore? I mean, I guess maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. There's tons of PG-13 movies. Yeah. I'm just kidding. Cool. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. We'll put some links on the site. Thanks for checking it out. the show. Thanks for checking out Ray's stuff, because we're kind of forced to because you watched the show. But hopefully that'll encourage you to go watch more of his stuff and come check out the store. And yeah, have a good night.